Hi everyone, I am Hilal, Research Assistant in Gaziantep University. I will do the third experiment of EEE 247 course. Let's start with the first question. A vector is given in the first question with the name of x, and there are 6 assignments to do. In A option, the request from us is to set the values of x that are positive to 0. There are 7 positive elements in x array. By writing a code, these positive elements will be 0. Firstly, I will define the x vector. XA is equal to x. Let's run. Yes, it's working properly. Here we say that the variable I starts from 1 and takes the value as much as the number of elements of the vector x. After that, by using if, we say that if the element of x corresponding to the value in number I is greater than 0, set that element equal to 0. By using AND, we are closing the if function by and for function by using for in the beginning. Also, we wanted to do the process multiple times. But these multiple times must be specified. How many times? It was defined in the beginning with for loop. It is equal to the length of x vector. Simply we say the for loop will work for 10 times because there are 10 elements in x vector, and we must not forget to write AND also for the for loop. Unless the program will give error, we have to close the for function and if function with the AND. Let's move on. B option of the first question. The request from us to set values that are multiples of 3 to 3. I have explained for and if concept, so I can write the code for that operation directly. Again, I'll say xb is equal to x. Yes, we see it's working properly. Here there is a function which should be explained. Rem function in MATLAB has a long name as remainder after division. In our code, this function finds the remainder of the division by 3 of each element corresponding to I in the vector x. Here we know that I is changing from 1 to 10. And we assign the variable r to the remainder which rem function finds. If this remainder value is equal to 0, then make this element in x vector 3. Let's move on C option. In first question, the request from us is to multiply the values of x that are even by 5. When even means if we divide a number by 2, there must be no remainder, as we know mathematically. So again, we can use rem function here to find the even elements in x vector. Let's write the code and see the result firstly. And then I will explain the code one by one line by one line, I mean. Let's run the code. Yes, you see the even elements are multiplied by 5 here. Now I don't need to explain for and if operation here because I've explained in previous options. Here I have assigned r to remainder of element remainder of element in x vector by 2. If r value is equal to 0, then that means I have found the even element in x vector. In if operation, I'm saying that multiply the element which you have found that even by using rem function. By using AND, I am closing for an if operation as we mentioned before. That's all. In the option of first question, the request from us to extract the values of x that are greater than 10 into a vector called y. This option is like the previous options, but there is an exception. In this option, there is another vector, vector y, that we have to create from x vector. Let's start writing code. Let's run it. Sorry. Yes, now it's working truly. This y vector is created by the results of each for loop. Because of that, we add another variable, c and t. We can say count shortly for c and t. To create y vector, c and t is equal to 0. It's the starting point for y vector. In first row of if operation, the code is finding the elements which are greater than 10 in x vector. After that, c and t is equal to c and t plus 1 row comes. This means c and t will increase by 1 by every y vector element which is corresponding to c and t number is equal to elements which has a location in x vector and which has a value greater than 10 concurrently. So, as you can see, the y vector can be seen in the command window. This is 15 and 12, which elements are greater than 10. Let's start E option of first question. This option, the request from us is to find the values of x vector which are less than the mean value of x vector and make these elements 0. Let's start writing code. Sorry. Let's check if something wrong. Entrance. As you see, it's working properly. In F option of first question, I will explain the request from us in 2 steps. Firstly, we will find the elements in x vector which are greater than the mean value of x vector. In the second step, we will find subtraction of the element which is greater than mean of x vector with the mean value of x vector. In this step, we will assign the subtraction values to the elements which is greater than mean of x vector. I mean, in x vector, there are some elements which are greater than the value of mean of x. Instead of those elements, there will be subtraction values of greater valued element with mean value of x. Let's write the code and see the result. Let's run the code. Here we see the x, and this is xf. In question 2, we will firstly create a vector by using runPerm function. Then we will evaluate the requested operations in the question. First, I will write the code, and after that I will explain it line by line. It's working properly, and I will use stamp. Yes. Now I'll explain what I have done. In this code, firstly, we used runPerm function. When we see runPerm 35 in the code, it means this function creates a row vector containing a random permutation of the integers from 1 to 35 without repeating elements. After that, there is a for loop. This means the operation within the for loop will execute for 35 times, because for loop repetition number has been specified by the length of x2 vector. In for loop, there are if and else if operations. By using if operation, we want to execute the statement if the given condition is true. Here in our code, if the element in vector x2 is less than 6, element of vector y, which is corresponding to the same element of x vector, is equal to 2. After that, we used else if operation. Here we wanted to give another condition. First condition, for example, first condition is not true, but we are giving another condition to check if true or false. We don't know second condition is true or false, but true or false, but we want to check it. In the second condition, we want the code to check if the element of x vector is greater or equal to 6 and this element of x vector is less than 20 at the same time concurrently, because there are two ends here, as you see. Yes. If this condition is true, then the element of y, which is corresponding to element of x, is equal to the formula given in the question as x minus 4. Here you see. The last condition is similar to second condition, second else if. After writing these operations, we have to close if operation with an and for operation with another and. Here this is for if, as you can understand, and this is for. Finally, we have drawn the x and y graphic by using stem function. Stem function plots discrete sequence of data, as you can see again. Yes, it's plotting discrete sequence of data. Let's move on to the third question. I will explain the third question step by step, but firstly I want you to stop the video and firstly read the question, and after that I will explain. First step, script must ask for a temperature. This means I will use input function in MATLAB. I will explain input function after writing code. Second step, code is asking temperature as Fahrenheit and computes the equivalent temperature in degrees Celsius. So I will use the formula of converting Fahrenheit to Celsius in my code. This is another step. In third step, I am quoting the sentence from the question firstly. The script should keep running until no number is provided to convert. In MATLAB environment, if we want to execute loops for specified times, we use for operation. But in our third step, there is no specified time. Here there is a loop and we want to make it execute for non-specified times. This concept should remind us while operation. I will explain while operation after writing code, but our third step of question explanation did not finish, because in the quoted sentences there is another keyword. No number is our another keyword. No number should remind us is empty function in MATLAB environment also. So for third question, I will explain while operation, input function, is empty function, and that's all. Let's write the code and investigate in a detailed way, I think so. I have forgotten how to write Fahrenheit. Now if we run the code, we will enter the temperature value in Fahrenheit and it's giving us the temperature value in Celsius. Now I'll explain what happened in the code. This code started with while expression repeats the execution of a group of statements in the loop while the expression is true. An expression is true when its result is non-empty and contains only non-zero elements. In the second line of code, I'm asking for the temperature in Fahrenheit. The user, asking the temperature in Fahrenheit. By using input function, the programmer make a text in prompt and in our text enter the temperature in Fahrenheit is written. After that, the user can enter expressions to this gap. Here in our code, we should write a number because temperature in Fahrenheit was requested. After that, you see the conversion formula from Fahrenheit to Celsius is written. If the user doesn't enter any number to the text, the program must not run. To make this, we have to check the text box is empty or not. In line 4, we have done this by using isEmpty function. If I briefly explain the empty function, this function returns a logical result if given array or text box or etc. is empty, and this function returns logical another result otherwise. So in our code, if the text box is empty, our check value becomes true. If check is equal to 2, then display function works. Display function works and no data entered sentence displays on the prompt. And the while loop breaks. But in other cases, whenever the data is entered to text box, while loop executes. After that, we have to close the while with an end. Then I assign temperature and value in Celsius to string variable, but previously made it string by using num2 str function in MATLAB. By using display function disp, you see, we can see the value of temperature in Celsius as a text document in the prompt window. Last question of experiment 3 is first question. I will explain first question step by step like previous questions. But first of all, I want you to read the question carefully. The question starts with a given I am quoting the sentences, given a year between 1982 and 2048. The sentence is continuing, but as a first step, there we can understand that we should use input function in MATLAB environment because there is no specified year. The year will be given, there is just an interval was given. As a second step, it is apparent that we will use mod function because A, B, C, D, E are all related to this function. Mod function in MATLAB does mathematical modulus operation. I am quoting a sentence from the question of third step. Note that 22 plus D plus E could be greater than 30. So we have to check if this value is greater than 32 or 30 or not. This gives us a condition. This means I will use if operation in script. After this explanation, all we could understand that our script will contain a while loop. In this while loop, there is if and else function. Now let's write the code for first question. Code will start with while loop. Enter year between 1982 and let's investigate the MATLAB script line by line. First, there is not a specified time for loop which we want to execute, so that we have used while loop. In second line, here it's sixth line in the screen. There is a variable year. We want the user to input the year between 1982 and 2048. While writing this line, you have to think about the other scenarios also. For example, if the user doesn't enter a year between these years, or if the user doesn't enter anything, so we can predict that in this code we will use the if operation. After that, A, B, C, D, E, and F variables are defined in MATLAB environment, USIM. And after that, year, date, and day variables are being converted from number to string. Here I will show here. They are converted from number to string. We have done this because we want to see these values on the prompt window of MATLAB within a sentence. In the next line, if function was started, if f is less than 30, you see. Also here, another if function. This is our another scenario, you know, if this condition is true or if this condition is true. String for variable must be equal to the sentences on the screen. In the sentence, the words which are in quotes will be written in same way, but the date and years words will not be written. Instead of these words, the values will be written. Here, there are date and years. These words will not be written. Instead of these words, here date and years values. And here day value will be written. That's better. Also here, years and day values will be written, but there's another thing for date value here, because there's another function is working. Here it says that for all conditions except f is less than 30, execute design assignments below. If f is greater than 30, this else function executes. Here, if f is greater than 30, this else function executes. And in the below operation, it's calculating date by subtracting 30 from f. So by using this equation and after that num to string function, we are writing the this is date value. Yes, we are writing the date value in a sentence. At the end, if the year is not in the acceptable range, the code displays this result. It says that the year is not in the acceptable range, and it breaks. Here, this is the string. Let's run it. Enter a year between 1982 and 2048. Yes, it's calculating the result. And let's give a year not in this range. For example, 2. Error, the year 2 is not in the acceptable range. So our third experiment is finished. Thanks for watching.